So Austin showed how we could initialize a DHIS2 app, how we could build it and deploy it manually to an instance. But that's just part of the path we can go. We can also publish it to the DHIS2 app hub, which is app registry where we can upload our own apps, and then we can distribute them to other DHIS2 users. This way we can help others, and the more people that are using our app, the more feedback we get back, and we can make our app better that way. So some of the features that the app hub has is that we can upload multiple versions. We can also upload versions specific to DHIS2 versions. So let me demonstrate this. You can find the app hub at apps.dhis2.org. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Right. We can log in with a Google account. To upload a new app, we'll go to the Upload tab. Here we can write in our app name, a description that describes the app. The source code URL is optional, but it's recommended to provide this as well, because then others can contribute to your code base. Then we can select what kind of app we want to upload. Most of the apps we make are standard, but we also have the option for dashboard and tracker dashboard apps. Here we can write the version of our app, the minimum DHIS version that the app supports, and the maximum it supports. We can also specify whether the current app should be on the stable release channel or a beta release channel. We can provide a demo URL. This is optional, where the user can test out the app without having to install it on their instance. The last step here is to upload a zip file of the app. The same zip file that Austin built for a couple of minutes ago. We're going to upload the zip file here. Some information about us. We can upload the logo in this step, and then later on upload screenshots and videos if you want the app. So that is the logo. Okay. And there we have it. The app was uploaded, and we can see that the status is pending approval. So the app won't be available to other users before it has been approved. But we can add more images here. We can add versions. Let me just demonstrate how we upload more images. So this is this should be screenshots, but I have just chosen a random picture here. And that was uploaded, and then the user can see that one as well, or should be able to see that one. We can also upload new versions, input information like we did previously. Maybe this is for another DHIS2 version, so you can specify that as well. And input the same information and upload the zip file. And now that has been uploaded, and all we need to do now is just wait for it to be approved. Once it's approved, we can install it on a DHIS2 instance by going to the app management tab. Let's log in here first. Then going to the App Hub tab, and here there's a list of all the approved apps from the App Hub, and we can install different versions here if we want. Using the App Hub, we reduce the amount of time we spend implementing basically the same app. We don't invent the wheel multiple times. We only need we only need one interactive support app maybe, and if multiple organizations can help contribute to the same app, it's going to be better than if all of them do them separately. I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Let's see, I see one question here. I'm not sure about this one. Do you know, Austin?
Which one?
What are the criteria for an approved app?
So we're working on really formalizing this, but the general approach is that it should be something that's it works if you install it on any DHIS2 instance. So it needs to be generic. So if it has hard-coded IDs or links to specific things that might not exist if somebody installs it, then it will not be approved. It should be generally useful to the community. So if people aren't going to use it, then it will probably also be rejected, just so we don't have a lot of things that no one will use. And it should generally be following we'd like it to see it following the design guidelines of DHIS2. So the design system that was presented in June, I believe, by Joe, and using the UI core components if possible, and able to access other applications by including the header bar, which is done out of the box with the platform, for instance. Those are all requirements of being, or recommendations for being approved by DHIS2 for the App Hub. If there are issues, we will reach out to you. We'll reject the app and give you feedback on, say, these are the reasons that this was rejected, and these are like what you can change to resubmit it. Generally, it's not super strict. It's mostly just kind of making sure that we have the ability to have some quality control on the applications that are in the App Hub. I think that answers that question.
Yeah, so as long as you're using the concepts that we have taught during this during these last couple of days, making generic apps and adding some tests and stuff like that, it should be approved, I think.
Yeah, cool. Any other questions for Wahed? Any questions about the App Hub, how to install things from the App Hub to your DHIS2 instance?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, my question is, when we access the app in DHIS2, we can see the icon for the app as we see the icon for data entry, for trackers, for all those. How do we define, is it possible to define the icon during this step, or because I just see the logo of the two square when we deploy the app? Is there any way to customize the icon?
Sure. Yeah. So yes, there is. You should be seeing my screen now. This also applies to a few of the other questions that came in on Slack, but the platform documentation. So if you go to developers.dhis2.org, again to docs, and click on DHIS2 app platform, you'll see under usage on the left here, there's something called custom app icon. And it tells you exactly how to specify a custom application icon for your app. By default, it is the DHIS2 logo, but you can put a file called dhis2appicon.png in the public directory of your application. And then when it builds, it will automatically be generated in the right way to be defined as the icon that shows up in the app menu for your application. So it will be this icon here. So if you see that these ones are the ones that nothing was defined, but this relationship tracing application is another application that came from, is built with the app platform, and it has a custom icon because it is, yeah, it has that specified in that way. So hopefully that answers your question. There was another question about static files, so including custom HTML or things like that. And you can't put it into, I would say this is an important rule in the app platform, everything under the .d2 directory, you shouldn't edit any of those files because they will be automatically generated and you will lose your changes. So instead, if you put things in the public directory, so this is a /public in your application, then it will override any of the static files that are generated. This is handy because you can even do things like overriding you can add custom files that will just be served statically by your application, but you can also override any of the built-in files like index.html, for instance. The way to do that, and I would recommend against this unless you really know what you're doing and need to do it. But so we're going to add a public directory here in the top level of our application. And then I'm going to go into .d2/shell public and copy everything that's in index.html. So I'm going to change this here. I'm going to put it into my public directory at the top level, call it index.html as well. And now I have basically a file that will override the existing one. And you'll see that it has some dynamic pieces that are generated by the platform. So the app name is generated by the platform. These public URLs are generated by the platform. But if I wanted to here, if I had another JavaScript library that I needed to include that had to be included with a script tag and couldn't be imported for some reason from within JavaScript, I could do script type equals script with a source here, and then I would say /myJS library.js, whatever it is. Obviously, you would say type equals JavaScript. No. I forget how to do this, but that's the general idea. I haven't used a script tag in such a long time. But yeah, so you can edit this here as well. You could remove some of the existing stuff, but I wouldn't recommend that. But this is possible. You can also, in this file or in this directory is where you would put the custom app icon that you want to use. So you would use the dhis2appicon.png file name in that public directory, and that would work. You could also include custom files. So if you wanted to have another folder that says images or something, and then you have whatever your image is my image.png, which this is not actually a PNG, but you could then reference that as from your source code. And the way you would do that from your source code as it shows here. So this is the recommended way to import images. But if you really wanted to use something in the public directory, you could do that. So you could say, like, I want to use this image on every single one of my pages. Wouldn't recommend this. This might get you rejected from the App Store if you just include an image of something statically on every single page. But this you could do image source equals /images/myimage.png. Yeah, so that answers another question I think that was in Slack.
The script tag, you have to close it. There is no self-closing script tags.
I make no
That should do.
promises about the HTML that I'm writing. But again, I would only recommend that if you absolutely need to, because there are a lot of advantages to using the built-in versions of these HTML, the index.html, for instance. One of those is that if we change that index.html in the future to add features, it will happen automatically if you don't have this override. If you do have this override, then you'll need to copy and paste and make your edits again in order to get the latest features of the index.html in the platform, if you upgrade the platform. So yeah, it is possible, but I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. Any other questions that have come up?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yeah.
According to the documentation, the tracker dashboard apps are not supported yet. And we really have some use case that we need that. So my question is there a plan to make this option available?
This is tracker dashboard widgets, right? Is what you're talking about. So the basically custom custom components that appear on the tracker capture application.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. We would like to include that at some point. Yes. Someone else asked if it was possible to create dashboard widgets. So this is on the dashboard application. The answer to both of those is there is a plan to make that possible. Currently, the app platform only supports standalone applications, full web DHIS2 web applications. But we hope to be able to have tracker capture and dashboard widgets available in the future. I don't have a timeline for that at this point, but yeah, we hope that we can get to that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So it's a good question by Mohammed again. Is it mandatory to be open source? We don't have an official policy that we will absolutely reject closed source applications, but we strongly prefer open source applications for exactly the reason that Mohammed is saying here. And that is that these are community applications. So if you find a bug in them and you want to fix it and you want to contribute back, it should be possible to do so. At the minimum, we hope that the developers of the applications on the App Hub are responsive and can address bugs and feedback in a constructive way. But it's even better if it can be kind of a community effort in an open source way. There are some situations where there might be a commercial kind of software that is connected by this application, and the organization that's developing the application might not want it to be open source for various reasons. We're not completely shutting that down, but we strongly recommend that they make at least the DHIS2 application portion of it open source. Hopefully that answers that question. If there are applications that you have found bugs in and you need help in contacting the developer or something like that, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can find the contact information for that developer, or try to, and reach out to them. Any other questions? Another one here. Okay, so there was another comment about Yarn Global Add DHIS2 CLI on Windows. I posted on the Slack, I posted an article that talks about how to add the Yarn Global directory to your Windows path. So read that if you're having trouble.
Yeah, there was also another question, or someone said that global Yarn packages didn't work on Ubuntu. I think the reason is that the global Yarn path is not in the path environment variable. I added a link to the thread. Maybe that will help people using.
I just yesterday. I just installed a new Yarn Global DHIS2 CLI on Ubuntu, and it worked. So it is possible. Absolutely. Yeah, you just need to make sure it's in your path. Any other questions? I see some people were typing. Any other questions on Zoom? Feel free to speak up. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later, Pete, about the future of this Slack and where we go from here. Okay, I think that's probably good for now. We'll take a 15-minute break, so we will come back 10 minutes after the hour, and then we will wrap up. So this is getting towards the last. This is getting into the last hour of this workshop for this week. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, things that you would like to see next time, things that you liked about this, things that were difficult to follow, or maybe too simple, too basic for you, please feel free to share that feedback with us. We'll have another feedback form after the break. But yeah, that's getting into the last hour, and we'll be back in 15 minutes, 10 minutes after noon Central European time, which is in 15 minutes from now. And I will see you then.